Hi everybody.
Hello.
I am Nish and I'm here with my niece and artist extraordinaire and major weirdo, Bella. Belle, can you introduce yourself?
Hello, I am Bella, also known as Bellmancer, and I am a self-taught artist.
Okay, so today we're gonna watch Belle in action. Belle in action. She's gonna draw something. Can you tell us what you're gonna draw today, Belle?
So I'm gonna draw a drawing of.
You're gonna draw a drawing?
It's from a story. I can't entirely remember what it was, but it's just a drawing for the stream.
So I think it was like an interpretation of a poem.
Yes.
And the poem had to do with
it was something about a tree being chopped down and gone. So I've tried to portray that as well as I can with water.
Okay.
And a child. Okay. I shall start now.
Okay.
It would be much better with music.
It's fine. La di da di da di da la di da.
Nah, we got extra.
Extra sing for the dinner. So, Belle, when you have like some kind of material, how do you usually start your creative process? Do you like have an idea and then you draw it, or for example somebody gives you a scene and then you kind of interpret it and then draw it? So what's the creative process there? How do you choose what you want to represent in the drawing?
So from a perspective of a self-taught artist, I don't really do it as good as the professionals, obviously, but basically I do it off how I feel. If how do I say this?
Okay, say you have a poem.
Yeah,
and
okay.
it has lines about mining, about the dangers of mining, and then about nature and it being degraded, and then trees are not there, it's sad. So how do you choose, like, okay, what do you want to represent? Do you want to do the trees? Do you want to do the mining?
Okay, so it's basically a really confusing process, but based on what type of emotion I want to portray in the specific drawing, I would either listen to music or just sit and think about it for a while. Mostly music helps because it really helps with my imagination. And then once I come up with a few ideas, I put it down on paper and then digital.
So what kind of music do you listen to?
It still kind of depends on what I'm drawing. If it's a example, a sad drawing, I would listen to sad music. If it's a happy drawing, a happy-go-lucky. If it's a metal drawing, metal.
I see, that's so cool.
Thank you.
What about if there's something like with different emotions? So like you can read it happy or you can read it sad or scary.
So might be weird, but I have really specific playlists for some of those. So during my drawing process, it will show up while I'm listening, and depending on how I feel, I'll work on something else, and it's a lot of confusing stuff, but that's how I work mostly.
Okay, so just now you said that you're a self-taught artist, so how old are you now?
I
should know that too.
Wait, I forgot. I am still 16. I'm gonna be 17 soon.
Why?
Because my birthday is not yet here.
Time doesn't make any sense.
No, because I can be young still.
Yes, baby niece. So how old were you when you started drawing or started experimenting with drawing?
I think I was around. No, not 6. I was around like when I started at 6. I think I was 12. Yeah.
So what made you get interested in drawing?
Basically, when I was at my aunt's house, which is here next to me, it was her birthday, and I wanted to make a gift for her.
Oh,
So
I remember.
because I was a child, so basically a child would be broke. So they don't know anything. So I tried to draw something for her, but I didn't know how to draw. I didn't know the first thing about drawing, and I searched up a video and followed it. And considering it was my first proper drawing, it was pretty good, but obviously I didn't like it. But I passed it to her, and she was really happy. And then from then on, I continued to draw till this day.
I see. So it was like almost an accident.
Yeah, imagine if I wasn't there on that specific date. I don't think so I'd ever draw.
So when you were experimenting with drawing in the beginning, like how did you learn? Did you watch like videos? Where's mine?
What do you mean?
Get in line. You can email me. I can be her agent, and each drawing is like $500 at least.
Okay, what was the question?
Oh, okay. The question was how did you teach yourself how to draw? Was it like YouTube or?
It was a mix between quite a few things actually. It was the coolest part was I used to have a really nice arts teacher that would teach perspective, and she would teach it really well, but she didn't really know that much about art. But the thing she teaches the best was perspective. So I learned perspective from her, and I learned color theory from Prokopenko from YouTube. And drawing was kind of confusing because it's self-taught, it's YouTube, it's a mix of everything, and also my grandfather, which really encouraged me to draw a lot of stuff, especially him.
Oh. So you mentioned like earlier when you started out drawing that you weren't entirely happy with it. So how throughout the years your art style has obviously grown by leaps and bounds, and you've learned new stuff as well. So how do you feel about your art now? Because I know some artists, like I do a bit of embroidery. At the end, the product, I'm never happy with the product. So how do you feel about your stuff now? Or how do you get okay with or happy with your art?
It's not an easy thing to do. Like a lot of people struggle with accepting. Oh shit. On the same layer. A lot of people struggle with accepting their work, which obviously mostly myself included. But I find that if you look at what you've accomplished today and you look back at how you were back then, there's a big difference, and I get motivation from that too, because I see that I'm improving, so I want to do more and more. So I basically motivate myself.
Rick says a lot of people accepting. Oh shit, Bell 24. Yes. Struggle accepting. Mixed up my own joke.
I'm pretty sure if someone who draws would understand the pain of drawing on the same layer.
So what are you doing now?
I am putting down all the base colors, but it's a really messy stage, so it doesn't look like much right now.
It looks like hell of a lot. Okay, so going back to acceptance, so you mentioned that, or you look at your previous work and then you feel better because it's improvement from before. So what has helped you improve between then and now?
First of all was I basically really like whenever I draw, I would show everyone and I would be really happy about it, and it really made me want to draw more. And wait, I'm not listening to the question. Can you repeat that?
Okay, the question is, so you said that you look at your previous art and then you see that you are improving, and then just now you mentioned that people's reactions as well when you show them. So how do you feel now about your art?
I actually feel really fulfilled about the things that I've accomplished specifically in this year, I've managed to draw better, quicker, and clearer pictures than I used to, and so I like it. It makes me happy. So
Nice. Has there been any kind of reactions from people? We don't have to name them, but has there been any reactions from people? It could be anyone that has kind of demotivated you or anything like that.
I feel like specifically sometimes art teachers, they kind of demotivate you by, even though you did your best, they critique every single small tiny detail and give you the worst grade and not be happy with you.
So just now, Bella, you were talking about how some art teachers are very critical. So what do you feel about critique in general? Like, does it always demotivate you, or is there a certain kind of critique
I
that
think
helps?
there's many ways that you can critique people, but some critiques are not like us, but some are really harsh with their words. So it's slightly, it's true, but it slightly demotivates you. So the way they say it demotivates you.
So there's this nonsense going on about tough love or being like brutally honest. So we can say that you can say something, you can critique it, and it can be true, but how you say it matters.
Yes.
So if you don't mind sharing, what were some of the examples of things that people have said that have demotivated you or made you sad or kind of doubt your skills?
It wasn't really much of like skill doubting. It was more, is it really that good? Like, it was kind of doubt, but it's not my own thing. Like, my teacher would look at my drawing, even though I did my best, she would critique every single small detail, even if I missed a tiny splotch of, like, there's still white on the paper. She would really critique it. Just the way that she said was really harsh, and it was like, I don't know how to explain it, but I remember it was really demotivating at the time.
That sucks. So what has been your experience like overall? We talked about art teachers who kind of set you back a little bit. On the whole, throughout the years, like in school and outside of school, there has been many kinds of art teachers. We can call the YouTubers and people you watch on YouTube or whatever lessons that you have, teachers in a way as well. So on a whole, what has been your experience with learning? Like, what is a way that you can learn best? Is it, for example, when people go into real detail of their art, step by step, or they show you the big picture and then they work backwards? So yeah.
Okay, real quick, I think I'm gonna change the drawing because I am getting confused. I'm gonna continue my Pokemon.
Hi, Snorlax.
Rick.
Oh.
Okay, so the question was,
What is your preferred mode of learning, or what is the best mode of teaching, more like?
so from my personal experience, if you get too detailed in your work, because this is personally for me, if you get too detailed in explaining your work, it really kind of makes you have to look through every single small detail of everything, that some of them are not relevant to you. It felt like a waste of time sometimes, so it felt pointless to look. But there are some that really, so basically what I'm trying to say is, if you were to make a tutorial, you should just get to the point.
So like not rambling about the stuff, about all too detailed.
It doesn't have to be too detailed. Some people, because this is my own personal thing, some people would really like to get really detailed, but I find that getting too much into the detail of everything kind of makes you bored.
Okay, so going back to like the type of art, so what kind of art do you do? So you mentioned drawing, now you're doing like graphic art. So what kind of mediums have you experimented with? Which ones make you happy, which ones not so much?
So surprisingly, I don't really like digital art. I find that sketching on paper has a really different feel to it, and it's really fun. So there's a big difference. It feels satisfying to me to draw on paper, but the thing is, I can't do it anymore because sometimes if I draw on paper, I would try to flip the canvas, or I would try to double tap to undo on paper,
Muscle
and
memory.
you can't get the stuff that you can do on digital on there. But I really like drawing on paper. And one more thing that was really fun to do would be painting. For some reason, I feel safe to get messy on it, even though it's like it's painting, it's like permanent, some of them, compared to digital, which you can undo stuff. But it felt fun to just let loose on some of the traditional paintings I've done.
So like watercolor, acrylic, that kind of
Yes.
thing. Okay. So you said something really interesting just now, that it doesn't matter if you mess up, you can like try and fix it or let loose. I find that crazy because when I really suck at art, especially like drawing stuff and painting and stuff, so I feel that I have to be very precise. Otherwise, if I like accidentally make a splotch out of place, then that's it, it's ruined kind of thing. So what do you mean when you say like, oh, you can let loose, even if you make a mistake, you can fix it? So how do you fix it?
So me myself doesn't entirely understand myself, but when I mean let loose on traditional art, even though it's on digital, for some reason I don't want to layer over too much stuff. But on painting, I don't know, there's a different feel to it. So it's fun and it's calming.
Fun and calming. How do you fix mistakes or an accidental splotch here, an accidental
So
brush there?
if I were on digital, I would be a really bad perfectionist. But if I were on
Cool, okay.
if I were on if I were painting, I would embrace that splotch and turn into something else, like
wow.
a cat, for example.
So it kind of grows from there as well. Grows from a so-called mistake from canvas, on canvas. Okay. So what other mediums? So you do paintings, watercolor, acrylic. You do digital art, of course. Sketches. You do sketches, pencil sketches.
Yes, I love doing pencil sketches because there's a really big difference between pen on paper and digital, is that there's a slight delay, and when you use pen and paper, it's satisfying, like I said.
You can hear the
You can hear the crisp, and you can you can feel. It's not like drawing on glass. I hate the sound of glass.
Okay, so what is your perception of digital art now? For example, like in the process of creating art, what does it make you feel? Or does it help you with, I don't know, stress or anything like that? Does it help you get lost in your own thoughts or process thoughts? How does it make you feel when you're in the process of producing something?
So, if I were doing something for like work, I don't really like working as everyone else. So it makes me stressed because I feel like I can't deliver properly. But if I were to be drawing on my own pace, on my own, like something I like, it really helps me let loose and focus. Not focus. More like, yeah, I guess focus.
Has it ever stressed you out? If yes, what kind of situation of producing art stresses you out? Like deadlines or commissions?
The one thing that would always stress me out is the fear of not delivering what the client wanted in the first place. So I didn't draw properly, like I didn't draw as intended to, but that so far it hasn't happened.
What do you like drawing? Is it like people, fantasy stuff, landscapes?
That's a really hard question.
Or what are your favorite kinds?
Okay, I think I would show you. That's easier.
Okay.
I like doodles, but I also don't like doodles because they're too simple. It's kind of confusing, I know. But I like doing small doodles that doesn't have to have any meaning to it, and it calms me down. Like if I'm ever stressed on anything, I would just doodle, especially faces. So I think the one thing that I really like to draw would be characters.
You like to draw characters?
Yes.
Are these characters that exist, or do you like drawing new characters?
I have drawn really few characters that actually exist. The most characters that I draw are from my own memory. But when I say my own memory, it's actually kind of an amalgamation of all the characters I've seen and all the aspects that I like about them combined into one.
So you kind of...
I'm gonna make another drawing.
Okay. So, how come your doodles don't look like my doodles? I it looks like cat poop.
Okay, so one thing about drawing, from my perspective, is first, your line quality really affects how it looks. But I don't know really how to explain this, but I think line quality and...
Sorry, what's line quality?
So,
Layman.
An example is if you were to draw a stick figure, if your line quality isn't that great, it could look like that. But if your line quality is good, there's a big difference. There's a slight difference that you can't tell, but it's basically the way you control your line, like make a heart, and compared to what just happened.
Crankmancer says dojo. Dodol.
What?
Dodol. Doodle. Oh, doodle. Dodo is something else altogether. Okay, so you like drawing characters that are like an amalgamation and a new creation almost of the character.
Let me give you an example of that actually.
Wow.
I have this original character that I would call Marcus, but he's basically from what I realized is he's basically the bloody painter from a creepypasta mixed with, I can't remember the last guy's name, but a lot of stuff. Maybe Jeff the Killer. A lot of creepypasta stuff, actually, now that I realize.
I feel like a boomer. Who are these people? Are they your friends?
No.
Where do they live?
They're serial killers. It's from a story, a creepypasta.
Okay. So, where do you usually draw inspiration from, or what do you find inspires you?
I would say the biggest thing that inspires me to draw, not to draw every day, but to draw every day would be everyone around me who gives me motivation. But
is it me?
Yes.
Yay.
You got me started. Would be music. Because if it's a really good song, like a song I would replay every day, I would make a drawing of it.
I see. How would you do that? Okay, say you heard a song, you like this song. Is it music or is it like song with words?
Depends on how I feel about it. But one example would be a drawing I made. I'll show it later, but it's a drawing I made that showed a character in front of a burning house,
Oh, I know
and that song was from Living in a Tombstone, I think. Burn in a Fire.
Aha.
So
Oh, that's so interesting. I never knew that's what it was based on. Crank Mansa says, "Hey, what about me?
too bad.
Do your siblings inspire you?"
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
The answer is yes. How do your siblings inspire you, or how do they like support you? And your parents, your family.
my siblings would try to commit a blood sacrifice every time I did anything. My siblings, they kind of understand me a lot, so they know what I like. And whenever I don't know what to draw, I would just go up to them and ask them any ideas.
And they give you ideas?
They give me ideas, and it's like the best ideas ever.
Oh. For example, how? Like, do they tell you, okay, landscape, or is it more detailed, like a burning tree?
So sometimes Roy, my brother Roy, specifically gives really good ideas that I would never think of, and it makes me want to draw. So, example, he made me draw a cyborg.
A cyborg, okay.
He had a top hat, and he had ability. I can't remember, but I have to find the drawing. Hopefully, I can find it later.
We'll find it later and put it up on the video. Alright, nice. So, on the flip side, have we, like, maybe inadvertently or accidentally maybe put a dampener on your progress of art, or maybe it's not just us people, but has there been a thing that slowed you down, or what do you struggle with in terms of advancing your art? For example, technology, or time, or like criticisms from us, or anything like that.
I think most people who draw would understand this, but for some reason, there's a specific time that you really feel like drawing, and it's basically the time that you don't have, which is like, let's say for example you have school tomorrow, but for some reason randomly at 3 a.m. with the ghost hour, you feel like, I'm gonna draw a ghost, I see the ghost right now, I'm gonna draw it. It's just, but you can't, so you basically have to hold it back, and once it's morning or the time that you have to wake up, you don't have that motivation anymore, and it's gone. So forever.
So basically all schools should be burnt down.
No.
Okay.
I mean, stay in school, but
stay in school, don't do drugs. Wait, do a certain kind of drugs.
Yeah, drugs. No, wait, no drugs. Yeah, that's all.
So it's mostly like time, like the time that you're inspired is not really ideal in terms of your responsibilities or
yeah, it's hard.
Commitments.
It's easy for me to find, but hard for me also to find motivation to draw every day. And because the thing that I don't have the most is time, and like I've done a drawing where it really required me to know a lot of anatomy, because I had to draw anatomy. So I had to draw a character, but I haven't drawn a full body at that time. I haven't drawn like a complete full body in a dynamic pose. Then
what's dynamic pose for?
Basically it's a
movement,
a big movement.
Okay.
Not just a static pose. So wait, now I forgot. So that was really something that woke me up, kind of. I thought I knew everything at that time, but then when I had to do that specific thing, I had to rethink how I draw, because I realized that I don't know any of the basics.
So what do you feel when you experience, like when you hit this wall where you're like, oh, this is a completely new area or skill that you need to learn? Like, are you excited about it? Are you worried? Are you demotivated? Or are you like, oh, this is something I can learn? So
I'm
deal with that?
kind of scared, because it's something that I've never done before, but also
That's
happy.
so cool. Sorry, go on. You're happy?
happy that I'm learning more, but also scared that it's new, new bad. So yeah, I don't know how to explain the rest of it. It's just from my.
Okay, so just to kind of take attention right now to see like what you're drawing, and I just noticed with just adding a few lines, you just changed the expression altogether. Like it went from a cutesy cat to like a grumpy cat. So how do you know what lines to add or where to add them?
It's
Because
not.
this blows my mind. Like you can just add a few
It's
lines.
not really something that you should be asking me, because
Okay.
I'm kind of obviously self-taught, so I don't really know the basics.
But you do it well. So how did you manage to like okay whatever you know now?
I got a really good explanation for this, but it's kind of weird.
Okay.
But whenever I want to draw like a happy expression or an angry expression, I used to make the face, but not even looking in the mirror. So basically, I saw how I felt. I felt how I felt. So how my eyebrows and how my thing worked, my face worked, and find out
Wow.
how to
That's
do it.
crazy. So you kind of perceive what's going on with your face, what your features and what
Yeah,
your
but
expressions
the
are.
weirdest thing that I don't understand myself is I don't look at my face, but I understand how it
You
works.
feel it. Okay, cool. So going back to what we were talking about just now, about things that you struggle with. So for now, what do you struggle with, or what have you struggled with in the past? For example, drawing body parts or drawing expressions or nature.
Basically everything, but everything I struggle with everything, but the one thing that that made me thought I was a pro is I could draw the most basic anime face ever. Like, let me give you an example. This is an eye, but instead of how I would draw an eyes normally like this, I would make the eyes as low as high as possible, and angry eyebrows. And the reason why I would draw angry eyebrows sometimes is because when you want to draw wrinkled faces to make them look angry, the more you add, the more detailed it looks. So I thought I could escape having to know what actually to add by just scribbling. So it's not really good, but
It's a way
yeah.
to overcome it. Okay, so now what do you struggle with? For example, I remember the reason I'm asking is because I know personally that drawing hands was really hard for you for a long time. And firstly, why was that, you think? Like, is it the perspective? Is it making it look real-ish?
I think the worst part about drawing hands would be learning foreshortening.
Learning for?
Foreshortening. So it just, I couldn't completely understand it. So, and it just looked wrong. So because I can't draw in perspective properly, even though I know perspective, like organic shapes in perspective is the most difficult thing you can do, in my opinion.
I see.
It just wasn't really setting right with me. I think now I still kind of struggle with it, but I get by. So
Okay. Has there been, like, with the development of technology and stuff, has there been any softwares or tools or apps or whatever that help you, that you feel that has launched your drawing and has helped you grow exponentially?
okay, wait, I got a good one for this, but personally, I used to think that making your own poses with a posing app was
Poses,
creating the pose that you want was the best thing ever. But that is, in my opinion, a big mistake for beginners, because if you don't know that much about anatomy and you want to go to a posing app to find a proper pose that was correct, you would generally most likely do it wrong. Even there are some like set one, but they're not good. So the best thing that I learned is to find a good reference. So like a real human being as a reference. instead of a poser.
Okay. What about like softwares? Does it help much or not really? Like, because I not so much softwares, but like tools. Because I know you talk about like brushes and stuff. So, using brushes, how does that help you? So brushes are. Sorry, can you explain first what a brush is?
Which, like, from where? Like digital or?
Sorry, digital art.
Um.
Painting brush. What is this? I've never seen it in my life.
Okay,
Is this
so
a fork?
brushes in digital art. First of all, basically, you only need a round brush for just doing anything in general. Then you can make art already. But if you want to use brushes, I think you need to understand what you're doing with them. You can't just throw them around randomly because it'll look wrong. But sometimes brushes can kind of get overwhelming. Sometimes you don't know which one to pick, which is the best.
Sorry, are these like presets that come with the software?
Some of them I got myself.
Okay.
But if let me give you an example. This is a grass brush.
Okay.
So it makes my life easier, basically. But if you're just throwing grass around everywhere and not knowing how it works, like why or where on the character, for some reason it can look wrong. Like, see, if I go in the back, it looks wrong. So you need to know what you're
Where
doing.
to place them.
So it's more like your knowledge on how to draw that is the most important thing, not the brushes, in my opinion.
Okay.
So now he looks like he's in perspective, and he looks like he's standing properly. So there's a lot of
Cool.
stuff there.
Okay. Can you show me another brush? Maybe
I don't remember my favorite.
your
Okay,
favorite?
I for some reason like to make ambers, and this is my most favorite brush
Ooh.
to make ambers.
Okay, so what would you say to like someone who's starting out? So you've spent like many years now.
Oh, no.
That's Jin saying hi, Jin.
Yeah,
Oh,
cranky.
cranky Jin. Okay, so what would you say to someone who's starting out with art, who has no confidence in their skills, who think that they can't draw, but is very interested? What would be like realistic advice you would give them?
I really don't know because I'm still kind of figuring out myself. But one advice I would say is most people would say to like draw every day or all the time.
Practice.
But I think you should take some time away from what you're doing. I think this is true for anything in general, but take some time away from what you're doing and take a break, and you come back to it with a completely different view. So let's say I'm not happy with how this cat is looking, even though, so I'll just take a break and I'll come back to it. And because you're starting with fresh eyes, you can see what is wrong. Like, the mount is too low. Like that.
Okay. See. Okay, so with your skill set, with your experience, like you can tell the mouth is too low. It looked hella okay to me before, but now it's better. So say someone is like completely starting out, and they're like, what would you tell them? What would be your personal advice to them to start out? Like, do you start with doodles? Do you start with drawing people? Do you start drawing small?
I guess you should start with what you like. Like anything you like a car. Let's say you like looking at cars or just seeing them in general. Just draw a car, and you gotta find motivation first of all. But draw a car and just practice, but not every day. Like anytime you get and anytime you feel motivated to, I think you should draw.
Okay, so find something that you like to draw, and you feel that that would motivate you to learn despite failing, despite the car looking like a cow or something like that?
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not the best person to ask for advice, but that's all I got.
That's fine. That's good advice, I think. So, what about yourself now in terms of you as an artist? What how would you like to improve your own art? What kind of things do you want to focus on to improve? Like, do you want to learn to draw people better? Do you want to learn to draw on different platforms better, different mediums, or branch out to different forms of art? So how do you want to grow as an artist now? What is something that excites you?
I think the one thing that I would like to be good at would be to draw anything I think of. Because sometimes I have the most amazing idea for drawing, and I do not have the skill for it.
To execute.
To execute it.
Alright.
So it ends up looking not good.
Okay. So final question is, what would you say is the best thing and the worst things about being a self-taught artist? Maybe we start with best things for you personally, not generally.
I guess it's you do it at your own pace. I don't know. I mean, if you're like learning professionally, you have to find a job. I don't know. From my perspective, you have to find a way that you'd like it. I don't know. It's really difficult to explain this.
So it's like being held accountable, being kept to a deadline, that kind of thing, kind of.
Yeah, I guess
Stresses you out.
I guess that the difference is I used to do this as a hobby, and if you were learning professionally, you have to be completely happy that you've accepted art as your career, or else, let's say you're not happy with how it looks. Let's say the job is not nice, and then you already went through everything.
Okay. And what would you say is the worst thing or the hardest thing of being a self-taught artist?
Self-teaching.
The self-teaching bit.
Yeah.
Why? Because you feel that it's not enough, or like you said, you want to learn to draw everything that you want?
I don't know really how to explain this properly, honestly.
So the self-teaching part is the hardest part.
Yeah.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Okay, got you. Okay, so that has been In Conversation with Belle. Again, my niece, artist extraordinaire, and this has been a cat. It kind of looks like Mammy Cat, but it's got Astra's eyes. So,
Everybody.
thank you for tuning in. Belle, you want to say any last words? Any last words?
I can't think of any last words, honestly.
Okay, no last words then. So,
Okay, I'll
bye
just
everyone.
go in peace. Bye.
Go in peace, yes. Bye. Hey, thanks for watching the video. If you'd like to, and if you're able to support us in creating more content, as well as taking care of our very sizable feline family, please consider donating to AlignLeft through Ko-fi. Link in the description. Thank you.